and welcome to Realty Buzz, your daily real estate reckoner. This is Mansi Dave and let's take a look at the show today. The first news on board says, would you make a donation to help a poor developer? Unless you'd like to take a needless risk with what is likely your largest investment, buy a finished ready-to-move-in apartment. An article in a pink newspaper that spoke in glowing terms of a new scheme launched by a large real estate developer under which buyers of apartments have to pay only 20% upfront, 20% when construction starts, and the remaining 60% when the apartments are ready. This article was amusing because it presented the stratagem as something unique and an extraordinary favor to the buyers of the apartments on offer. Practically every developer is functionally bankrupt. All forms of finance have dried up, and there are literally lakhs of units for which developers have taken some payment from customers and which are years behind schedule. Vast amounts of customers' money has been bled away in developers' launching of more projects, and all the time there is a growing gulf between the prices which developers want and what real customers are willing and are really able to pay. Investors who have parked their cash in unsellable apartments are looking for any way to attract customers, including, if one is to believe advertising one sees, elaborate attempts to improve the claimed vastu of their holdings. Anyhow, the kind of scheme that the article referred above described is yet another way of developers to try and get future customers to finance them. On the face of it, this sounds reasonable, and yet, given the continued absence of actual functioning on the ground, control over what developers do with the funds, this amounts to customers financing the developers in general rather than the specific apartment that is being constructed for that customers. The whole business of developing and selling real estate is full of regulatory and governance failures of all kinds. But this particular failure, that of developers being able to bleed funds from projects, is the one that has caused most damage of customers' interest and eventually to the developers themselves. The proof of this lies in the handful of developers who have stuck to the straight and narrow, and instead of being giant and bankrupt business, are smaller yet profitable. Well, anyhow, where does this leave those who want to buy a house? Unlike other forms of questionable investments that can just be avoided, buying a house to live in is not an avoidable need. Given the state of the entire sector, what should have been a simple exercise is one fraught with serious financial risk. The first thing that potential house owners do is to forget about becoming financiers of real estate developers. Except for a very small, a handful of developers, this should be treated as a zero-trust industry where name and size and reputation count for nothing. If you don't believe that, ask the thousands of buyers who got taken by names like Unitech in the decade past. Unless you would like to take a needless risk with what is likely your largest investment, buy a finished, ready-to-move-in apartment. The ticket price on this is likely to be higher than the one supposedly under development, but when you take into account the risk that you take of your money going into the never-ending limbo, the on-ground reality is that there is a considerable supply of ready apartments that can be bought. Fueled by black money that has nowhere else to go, sellers are supposedly able to hold on to high prices. And yet, there is every indication that prices are finally cracking, and despite the pretense, actual buyers are able to negotiate large discounts. Unbiased observers can see clearly that there is a sort of an end game on now of the 15-year period of unjustified excesses in the real estate sector. As a customer, the last thing that you should do is to hitch with the wagon to a sinking developer's ship by paving in advance. So here we take a short break. Stay tuned to Spin TV. The decision to stop issuing these coordinates was taken around 6 to 7 months back and communicated to the Airports Authority of India. Welcome back after the break. The next news on board says, realtors hit as BMC no longer issues them key document. About 3 months ago, the Civic Corporation stopped issuing location coordinates for plots to be taken up for construction. For a number of real estate developers in Mumbai, the season has cast a different kind of gloom as the process of getting the all-important building height clearance, no objection certificate from the government has run into turbulence. Let's take a look at it. About 3 months ago, the Civic Corporation stopped issuing location coordinates for plots to be taken up for construction. It is a key piece of information which is needed to ascertain the position of the plot with respect to the airport so as to arrive at the maximum height the building can be allowed to grow. The NOC application filed before Airports Authority of India for building height clearances seeks these coordinates, without which the application is considered incomplete. The BMC's decision to stop providing these coordinates has hit about 70 to 100 projects. These developers have been left with no option but to wait for more clarity in the matter. Till the matter is resolved, they cannot file their NOC application before AAI. As such, an application which does not give the coordinate is considered incomplete. These coordinates, called as WGS84, provides, among other details, information on the exact latitude, longitude of the location, said a senior official from the Development Plan Department of the BMC. We have stopped issuing WGS84 coordinates as we are planning authority and do not have expertise on this issue. The decision to stop issuing these coordinates was taken around 6 to 7 months back and communicated to the Airports Authority of India, and they are probably looking at an expert agency to handle it. The Airports Authority of India website, which lists the do's and don'ts for applying for the NOC, states that WGS84 coordinates can be obtained from a qualified professional or an agency authorized for the purpose by the concerned department, unit, local body of the government. Agarwal, though, says that the Airports Authority of India does not accept these coordinates except when issued by the BMC or the IIT. The BMC used to issue these coordinates in a week's time, and so it was the popular choice for developers. The IIT, on the other hand, takes months to issue it. VSP Chinson, Airports Authority of India General Manager, Aerodrome Licensing, said that the BMC should be providing the applicants with WGS84 coordinates. Not all building proposals need an NOC from the Airports Authority of India, though. The Airports Authority of India released color-coded maps a few months ago, which give a visual indication of the permissible height of structures around the Mumbai and the proposed Navi Mumbai airports. To construct structures that stood in the innermost zone closest to the runway, it stretched, for instance, from ISKCON Temple, Juhu to Mumbai University at the Santa Cruz end, Bandra Kurla complex along the south end. The developers needed to obtain an NOC for building height clearance from the Airports Authority of India. For zones further away from the airport, if the builder wanted to go beyond the maximum height mentioned in the color-coded maps, then an NOC should be obtained from the Airports Authority of India. Strictly speaking, the color-coded map does not list the maximum permissible height in the given zone. For instance, if the allowable height in a particular zone is 50 meters, then the Airports Authority of India's color-coded map caps it at 45 meters for a built-in buffer. Any developer who wants to build beyond 45 meters has to approach AAI for height clearance NOC. To construct any building in the zone closest to the airport, an NOC for building height clearance is mandatory from the AAI. As one goes further away from the airport, the permissible height go up in increments of 15 meter to 50 meter, 65 meter, 80 meter, 100 meter, 115, 135 meter and 150 meter above mean sea level. The color-coded map may list 50 meter, for instance, as the permissible height of structure in a certain zone. But Airports Authority of India maps have a built-in buffer, and so the maximum permissible height would be a bit more than 50 meter. A developer who wants to build beyond 50 meter right up to the maximum permissible height has to apply for an NOC to the Airports Authority of India. With this, we come to an end of this episode of Realty Buzz. Keep sending us your suggestions and views at contact us at optimistmedia.com, or you can call us on 91 922 922 or 1800 3000 5191. I'll be back with more news and buzz and updates. Till then, goodbye, take care and keep watching Spin TV.